Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Balanced Business Coach. My name is Tony Robinson, and I am a life coach for leaders, helping individuals and teams reclaim more balance in their personal and professional lives. I help people with burnout, toxic workplace culture, and just overall enhancing the experience of your life to create more fulfillment so that you can create a bigger and better impact on the people that you serve. I am so excited to be here today. As always, the podcast is one of my favorite things. I really love having these, mini talks with you guys. I know you aren't talking back to me, which please talk back to me. Like, tell me what you think. I love to hear from you guys and hear your feedback and get, information and insights or questions and recommendations on what you want to hear about, what you love. So please, open the dialogue. It is a back and forth. I don't want to just always be talking to you. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you have to say also. So, this week I'm going to be talking about productive procrastination. And this is something that it was a term that I heard I don't know, it wasn't that long ago. It was like a few months ago. One of my coaches had talked about this, and I was just like, huh, I do that quite frequently. And it's really just this process or uh, behavior that we do in order to feel accomplished, in order to feel like we're getting things done, but we're not prioritizing things effectively. So, I'm going to be talking about what does productive procrastination look like, why someone may struggle with productive procrastination, how to prioritize more effectively so that you can kind of overcome productive procrastination. And then I'm going to add a little twist in there to kind of throw you off and let you know that prioritization is not actually the end all be all of overcoming productive procrastination. So, with that being said, let's get into it. So, a couple examples of productive procrastination could be rewriting your to-do list or doing your schedule, making lots of lists, doing plans like over and over again. Just like that process of planning, redoing that, rewriting, prioritizing, like just the redoing of these lists or things that you have to accomplish. It can feel really helpful. It can feel really, and sometimes it is, sometimes it's necessary to do those things. I'm not saying don't ever do them, but it's not always the most important task, and it is not always actually contributing to the most impactful thing that you could be doing, or it's not making the biggest impact on getting the things that matter off of your plate or out into the world, out to the organization, whatever it is that you're working on or that you're trying to do. Redoing your to-do list a bajillion times is not actually getting you the results that you're trying to go for. Washing dishes or like doing the laundry. So sometimes when I'm feeling extra blocked or like, oh, I don't really know where to go with this, I'll just kind of like get up and do the dishes, or I'll do the laundry. And like I'm productive because I'm doing these things that need to be done, but I'm still procrastinating on the most important item that I need to do for my day. And so finding these other little ways to be like, oh, I need to do this too, or oh, it's not really like affecting anything because I need to do this. So I might as well do it now because I can't think of like an idea for this project I'm working on, or I'm feeling super blocked. So I'm just going to go do the dishes real quick. It'll be fine. Instead of having more of that discipline and focus and actually like applying yourself to get done the task that really needs to be done, the more important one. Another thing, oh my gosh, I used to do this so bad when I was at my last job, was answering easy emails. So I would have these emails that I knew were going to take me a little bit more research, or it was going to have, I needed to put in more effort to get them done. And so I would just look for the easiest emails that I could find, the ones that were quick wins, the ones that I could just answer super fast and, just reply to and get it out of my inbox. My goal was always like to get myself to inbox zero, meaning like I didn't have any emails to answer. So if there were like 10 easy emails and 5 super difficult emails, I would still go in on those easy emails just to make my inbox look like a smaller list, even though those 5 other big emails were really like causing me so much anxiety and making me feel like, oh shoot, I have these big things I need to get done. I keep putting off these big things. And then, like, to be able to handle those 5 big things, it was going to take a lot more mental space. It was going to take a lot more time and capacity. And so putting them off and off and off was really not doing me any favors. So even though I was getting these quick, small wins, in the long run, I was losing big time, losing big time. So, the reason we do all of this is because it's about wanting to feel this sense of accomplishment. We really love instant gratification, especially in the world that we live in right now. So many things are so quickly available to us that when we don't feel these quick, easy wins, we start to feel really discouraged and down on ourselves. It gets us feeling more stressed, and that is why we look for the things that we can do well, the things that we can do easily, because it makes us feel more accomplished. And then we have that gratification that gives us that push, that motivation in order to tackle the bigger things. The problem with this, though, is that it becomes a cycle. We focus on what's easy and not what's important. And so then the things that are important pile up, they get further behind, they accumulate. And so, like I was mentioning before with the emails, it becomes this issue because all of these things that are bigger time commitments, that are bigger priorities, that have more brain power that I need to put into it, they've all piled up. And now I'm feeling like, holy crap, how am I going to get all of this done? So then I go back into my instant gratification cycle of wanting to get something easy done. So I get that off my plate. And then I try to focus on the bigger thing, but then another easy thing comes in. I'm like, let me get that quick win, because I'm constantly looking for that motivation from the instant gratification. But more and more, I'm procrastinating these big tasks, these important tasks that really need to get done. And it's just putting me into a deeper hole and stress cycle of not accomplishing the things that really matter. So, another part of this is also that we can procrastinate as part of a protection system, which is really interesting to think about, because it seems like, well, you procrastinating and putting things off doesn't seem like you're really setting yourself up for success. But there is this unconscious mentality of, if I procrastinate until the, deadline of something, or up until, it's really like crunch time to get something done, then if you get a lot of praise and good feedback and like great jobs from that, you're like, I'm the best. I am so good at what I do. I can knock this out in no time. And I didn't need to plan. I didn't need to do all of those days that I had scheduled this on my calendar. I didn't even need to be working on it, because I am so badass that I got this done, and everyone thinks it's amazing anyways. Or on the flip side, if it doesn't go so well, you don't get good feedback, then you can turn it the other way, where it's like, well, I didn't really put that much effort into it anyway. I really waited until the last minute. So no wonder people didn't really love it, because I really didn't put that much energy into it. So it's this defense mechanism where we use the procrastination as an excuse of either like, I'm the best, or I'm not actually the worst, because I really didn't even put that much effort into this. And so it's a really interesting shift and awareness that you can have for yourself when you start to procrastinate. Like, am I doing this because I'm afraid of not doing this well? Am I not doing this because I'm not confident in the product that I'm going to produce? So, food for thought. Think about that. But that is essentially in a nutshell what productive procrastination is and how it might show up for us. So, I want to shift into what would cause us to be productive procrastinators aside from these like psychological things. Is there something else to it? Because I know for me, I understood that there was this piece of instant gratification. I understood that there was this piece of like a protection mechanism. But I was like, what else though? Because it feels like with that knowledge, I would be able to do something with that, or I would be able to, have this understanding and put systems in place, which I did to be able to turn that stuff around. But I still feel myself wanting to procrastinate these big tasks. So, what is it? Where is this coming from? And I found out that our dopamine levels are actually a huge driving factor in procrastination. So, a lot of people suffer from low dopamine levels, and dopamine is a neurotransmitter that essentially allows us to feel good. And what we've done with procrastination is that we have told our brain that short term success is more rewarding and more exciting to the body, to the brain, than long term reward. So, the dopamine is looking for that hit of the short term reward instead of the real satisfaction of the long term reward. So, because your brain is focused on this short term, it affects your ability to focus, to concentrate, and do anything that doesn't result in instant gratification. Crazy, right? Mind blowing. I thought that was really interesting. So, a few ways that you can know that you may have low dopamine levels, or a few things that appear, symptoms that appear when you have low dopamine levels, are daytime sleepiness, insomnia, having low energy or fatigue, lack of motivation, inattention, inability to focus, boredom, and listlessness. So, when I was seeing that like low dopamine levels really contribute to you just not wanting to do shit and get it done, I was like, okay, well, how do we increase our dopamine levels? Because obviously we need to shift that, because even if we're putting all these systems in place, even if we have the understanding and we, heal the parts of us that feel like we need to, protect ourselves against rejection or, critique of whatever we're doing. And so that's why we're procrastinating it, whatever. All of those things I mentioned before. All of that aside, what if we are just suffering from these low dopamine levels? And so I was like, how can we increase those? Well, number one is exercise. That is probably the best and the most effective way to increase your dopamine levels. This is helpful for any stress levels. It helps you get rid of the stress that you do have, and then it will give your brain that yummy feel goodness that it wants. You can listen to music, so dancing, exercise, and music together equals dancing. Like, what a good option. Eating lots of protein and eliminating junk food, both together. Focusing on your gut health. So making sure that you are getting enough pre and probiotics so that you can make sure that your gut is functioning well, getting enough sleep and sunlight. So then a light bulb went off in my head. When I read the sunlight piece, I was like, okay, I've been told many times from my doctors and just reading research that a lot of people, most people, are vitamin D deficient. So then I was like, okay, if we are vitamin D deficient, then even if like we're doing the exercise or we're eating the right foods, if we're not getting enough vitamin D, because if you listen to the symptoms of vitamin D deficiency, fatigue, not sleeping well, depression, feelings of sadness, loss of appetite, getting sick more easily, all of these things that probably would contribute to the same things that the low dopamine levels are, like the low energy, the fatigue, the lack of motivation, the inability to sleep, the insomnia. Like it all ends up tying together. So I'm like, okay, this is really interesting. Maybe we need to focus on vitamin D and increasing our vitamin D levels. Like if you're doing the exercise, you are listening to music, and that's still not helping you focus, like maybe it's this other thing. And so all of these are just to tell you like avenues to explore. I think with the vitamin D deficiency, definitely get blood work done by your doctor and see what your levels are and see what they would recommend. I'm not telling you to like go take vitamin D supplements. But what I have heard is that a lot of people are vitamin D deficient. And so if you are struggling with the procrastination and you are struggling with the symptoms of low dopamine levels, then maybe you're also struggling with vitamin D deficiency. Go get your levels checked and start to implement some of these things like the exercising, the music, and see if that starts to improve. I would say like something that I find is really helpful for me is if I move, if I do exercise, if I get some like really good nutrients first thing in the morning, because that is going to set up the rest of my day for success. And I think it makes sense now that I read that like that is what increases my dopamine levels, because I'm so focused and so like attentive and productive on the days that I exercise first at the beginning of my day. Whereas if I wait until the end of the day, I am a lot more all over the place, kind of ADHD, like blah, 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 gotta do this, gotta do that, let me do the laundry, let me answer this email, let me blah blah blah, like all over the place. Okay, so just something to consider, and hopefully that helps you to become less procrastinating. I don't know if that's a word, but we're going with it. So I want to also talk about the importance of prioritization, because some people, the reason they do this productive procrastination thing is because they just don't know how to prioritize. They don't understand how to rate the level of importance of something. So they just kind of do what feels easy, again, to feel accomplished. But then they realize, oh, maybe I should have done that first. But then by that time, it's too late. So I wanted to give you some examples of how you can prioritize more effectively. If you're on Apple, I'm going to put a couple examples on the screen. So if you wanted to watch the video of this, just head over to YouTube and you can see the actual examples. The first one is the Eisenhower matrix, which is basically an X and a Y axis that allows you to determine how important and how urgent something is. So something could be super important but not urgent, and then in that case, you wouldn't necessarily need to prioritize that over something that was super important and super urgent. If you say that it's high importance, high urgency, you would want to prioritize that task first. If you say it's not important and not urgent, then you would prioritize that task last. So there's also this hack, because a lot of people are like, well, everything is in high importance, high urgency. How do I decide from there? So there's this way that you can kind of close everything in. So if you have put everything as high importance, high urgency, you would essentially shift the matrix up so that some of the ones that are in the lower part of the upper quadrant would be now in a less important, less urgent space. So you would just essentially shift it up. Or you can kind of close it's like a 90-degree angle, right? Because it's split into 4. So if you make that a little bit more of a tighter angle, then you can start to see which ones are most important. Those are just a couple of ways that you can hack the Eisenhower matrix. You also have the Moscow technique. So this is must do, should do, could do, won't do. And this just helps you decide What are the things that you must get done today? What are the things you should get done today? What are the things you could get done today? And then what are the things that you will not get done today? So it's just another way, kind of the same type of mindset, but another way of coding your tasks. And you could either make different columns and then put the tasks in the columns, or I really like to use Notion. And in Notion, you can actually code. If you have a database, you can put your task and then you can code what level of importance it is. So you could actually code it as must do, you could code it as could do, so on and so forth. And then you can filter that to only your must do tasks for the day, or only your musts and should do's for the day, so that you are really laser focused on just those things. Similar to that is the ABCDE method. This is where you would put in columns. Something that's in A column is you have to get it done. Something that's in E column would be eliminate. So that would essentially be off the list altogether. And then something that's in the D column would be delegated. And then the ABCs would just be like A is a must do, B is a should do, C is a could do, and then the others would be delegated and eliminated. Another one that I really, really liked that I haven't actually used before myself, but as I was researching other prioritization techniques, is the bubble method. So this is essentially comparing tasks to one another. So if you're having a really hard time deciding which tasks to do, let's say you have a list of 5 things for the day. What you would do is you would list them in a vertical line. So call Sharon, send emails to Larry, so on and so forth, right? You'll put all these things. And then you're going to compare one by one. Is it more important to call Sharon or email Larry? If it's more important to email Larry, then that one's going to go to the top of your list. Then you would do, is it more important to call Sharon or whatever your task number 3 is? So you're going to go down the line and keep comparing it to each 2, and then you would flip them if one is more important than the other. So if calling Sharon is more important than your task 3, then you would compare your task 3 to your task 4. If task 4 is more important than task 3, then that's going to get moved up on the list, and so on and so forth. And then you would compare Sharon and task 4. And then depending on which one is more important, again, through the process. So that's a really good way if you really struggle with deciding what is more important. Just look at 2 tasks at a time and pick one. You can only choose one, and then you move that up to the top of the list. And then one more method for you guys is the 139. So this essentially gives you 13 tasks that you can complete a day. 1 is a critical task. So this is a must-do task from like the Moscow framework. The next one is 3 important tasks. So these are like your should-dos. And then the last one is 9 nice-to-do tasks. So this is going to be something that you don't necessarily need to get done today, but it would be nice to get these things wrapped up. So you're going to start with your must-do, then do your shoulds, and then end with your 9 nice-to-do. These are probably going to be a little bit easier, less time-consuming. All of that being said, though, even if you are a ninja prioritizer, you still may struggle with procrastination. It's me. I am her. She is I. Like, that is me to a T. I'm so good at prioritization, but I still do the productive procrastination thing. So prioritization is not the cure for procrastination. People might even use prioritization as a way to productive procrastinate. Would you look at that? I want to mention that if your difficulty with procrastination is not prioritization, if you are very good at prioritization, then maybe it's something else. So what happens when you have prioritized everything and yet you are still distracted? You still can't focus. You still cannot get the thing that matters done. Number one is you need to have techniques when the distraction comes up. So maybe that is locking your apps down on your phone from X time to Y time of the day. You have all of your apps locked and you cannot get into them because they are very distracting to you. Maybe it's using an app like there's this one for like a tree, and if you go out of the app, you kill the tree. And so basically you can like have that app open while you're trying to do that task, and then you get to plant a seed and grow a tree if you complete the full time without getting distracted. You could also implement things like breathing techniques, EFT or tapping. You could try the Pomodoro method where you have blocks of time that you are working, or chunks of time. So you'll work for maybe 25 to 50 minutes at a time, and then you'll take a break, and then you'll do another chunk and then take a break. Sometimes our brain just needs to feel like we're not going to be here for too long. I can definitely do 25 minutes of focus time. We can do that. It's fine. That's safe. So sometimes when you chunk it up, your brain will react a little bit differently, feel safer, and be able to focus for that period of time that you've set. The other thing I think is doing time blocking. So not task switching. If you're working on a project, do not make yourself available to answer emails, answer calls during that time. If you have a lot of meetings in a day, do not make yourself available to work on a project during that day, because your brain is not going to be able to focus after you have exerted so much energy into phone calls, or if you're preparing for phone calls, you're just going to be distracted. So know yourself and know what are the things that push you off track, and schedule your days and blocks of time for specific things that are going to allow you to focus more deeply. And the other thing here is just habit change in general. It's difficult to shift something that we have naturally done, automatically done for so long. So sometimes if you realize I have a habit of picking up my phone when I'm at my desk, and that is so distracting for me, and it constantly like makes me go down a rabbit hole on social media, and then I realize I just wasted 20 minutes of time that I really could have been focusing. We need to shift those habits. And so starting to put safeguards in place, like maybe you leave your phone in your car. Maybe you leave your phone in your drawer in your room if you work from home, or maybe you shut down the apps like I mentioned before. But starting to create these safeguards to shift the habit so that you're not constantly reaching for that. And also getting introspective about like, why am I constantly reaching for this? What am I seeking? What am I trying to get out of reaching for my phone and going to social media? Am I looking for, again, that instant gratification? What is it that is making me reach for that? But you have to kind of start to nip that habit in the bud. And sometimes that's just cold turkey. And so if you put that phone somewhere else that it is not convenient to get to, it will allow you to stop reaching for it, or your brain will start to realize, oh, it's not there today. And it will actually become a really big eye opener for you, because you'll realize you're reaching for it. It's not even there. Like, why are you reaching for it? It's just a habit. Starting to implement different techniques to stop yourself from distraction and starting to change your habits are going to be really helpful. And also doing things to increase those dopamine levels, get your vitamin D checked, and just recognize that this is something that a lot of us do. And it's a big struggle, but it's something that we can change. It's very attainable to change this habit, to change this way of being. This is not just who you are. You can absolutely overcome this way of operating, and it will make things so much easier for you at work. It will alleviate your burnout symptoms and just make everything so much more fulfilling. So that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for being here. As always, I love you. I appreciate you. It means so much to me that you spent this little bit of time with me. And until next time, take care.